Sure, you're putting me on the spot. Well, even if you're looking at 1 day versus 2 days can make a huge difference. Just because you're reinforcing the same principles over again, you're reinforcing first and second position, you're reinforcing straight legs, tall backs, right? And there's always a little bit of fun in there, right? But I think that's the trick, is sprinkling fun and joy in with principles for not only a strong dancer, but a strong person. A focused and dedicated dancer is a focused and dedicated student, right? So it all kind of falls under the same umbrella.
Tell me about your dance experience. When did you start your dance?
I started dancing when I was 2 or 3. Started with 1 class a week, probably, and then I realized how much I loved it. Very quickly, probably when I was around 4, I was already doing 3 days a week. Probably already doing 3, and just loving it. I loved being surrounded by friends. I loved my teacher. I loved how engaging the studio was, all of the different things that I didn't know I wanted to learn, right? There's always something new to learn, and there's always more to achieve and something to get better at, right? So, and then when I was probably by the age of 8 or 9, I was already in the studio 4 to 5 days a week. And then I would say probably by 12, I knew I wanted to be a dancer. And at that point, it was, I need to dedicate every amount of time that I have that's extra, that I'm not doing school, because school was very important. I had to make sure I had all my homework done in order to, go to dance. And if it wasn't done by the time I had to go to dance, I came home and I finished it. Or if there was a break in between my classes, especially if you're taking 2, right? A couple minutes here to study, a couple minutes there to finish my last couple questions on my homework. And then a lot of work at home, especially on weekends, with stretching, practicing.
What happens to one's body when you take more than 1 hour per week? How does it advance that child's talent?
So especially with little brains, with little minds, your kid goes to school 5 days a week, right? Because they're learning math, they're learning new skills, they're learning how to write, they're learning their alphabet, they're learning all of these things, right? And they go to school 5 days a week to reinforce all of that, to teach all of that. And then you have, by the end of 2nd grade, you have a 3rd grader because of all the work they put in during the year. Imagine if they were to only go to school once a week. You're not really going to get much done, right? It's the same thing with dance. They're learning a new skill. They're learning body coordination. They're learning dancing to the music. They're learning how to become aware of their own body, which is pretty amazing to watch. But 2 days a week, 3 days a week can make all the difference of seeing a dancer go from A to B. 1 day a week, it's going to be a very slow journey. 2, it's like how expedited that process can be is amazing. Hello, good morning.
That's great. Yeah. Well, my last thing that I wanted to ask is what is the main reason you would suggest that some kids take private classes in between their group classes if they are trying to level up? And why coming Sundays here will help with that. But if you're going to take a private class with you, how does that help them level up in their own program?
Taking privates would definitely help them level up, only because I'm able to dedicate a full hour to that child's individual needs, right? So I would be able to work with a student who might be in a class who's not quite ready to do preparation for pirouettes or pirouettes themselves. I can start on that process with them, going over the fundamentals of pushing off from 4th position, finding a nice retiré passe. Or it also, if they might be in a class that they're on the lower age bracket of, right? We can go back and we can focus on all of the details, stretching knees, pointing feet, spotting for our turns. There's a huge difference of a dancer holding their arms like this or like this. I always talk about how our arms come from the back. It's all of those little things, especially connecting our head and our eyes to our dancing, right? There's a whole I always tell dancers that when we watch someone else dance, what are you looking at? A dancer might look at the legs, it might look at the feet, but your average theater goer is always going to be attached to your face, right? How you're telling a story. And that is also a huge part as we're learning our technique, as we're learning our fundamentals, how to bring joy into it as well.
Miss Madison, you are like the cat's meow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to let you go and do your class now. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Miss Sherry.